So we had a little event. What I would say was it was a very superficial surface abrasion on the piers. So this happened about 1:45 yesterday. Next slide, please. So yesterday we received, actually 911 received a call from a white salmon citizen that had noticed that the shaver barges had made contact with the inside of the northernmost lift span, the Washington side lift span. And 911 ended up contacting the sheriff's office. Next slide. And so 911 contacted the Marine Deputy, Joel Kermati, and he invited port staff. It was Ryan, myself, and Ryan's superintendent. Next slide. And this is a video of the pier. You'll notice that there's a lot of marks on this. There's a scarring at the top of the photo there. That's not the one from yesterday, but that's just kind of shows you the nature of this pier. And one other item that I thought was kind of interesting about the pier is if you notice, it's almost like a teardrop. There's a point, and there's actually some reinforced steel angle iron to, and I thought that was an interesting item. But let's go ahead and run this video, and you can see on the other side, you'll see the markings. Right here. So it looked like about 18 inches under the water and I don't know, 6 to 8 feet above the water. So that was the identified area once we got out there on the boat to inspect this. The next slide. So after that, Deputy Kermati proceeded to approach the 4 barges escorted by the tugboat Cascades. If you look in the picture, interestingly enough, it anchored off to the Washington side. So it wasn't in the federal channel. It was off to this side for about 40 minutes. And it was trying to get some of its equipment repaired before it ended up continuing upriver. Next slide. Oh, yeah, it was pretty choppy out there. The reason I like this video is we actually get to see Deputy Kermati. There he is. So he was very gracious, took us out. And once we got out to the barge, next slide, we came right up to very close to the barge, and you could there's foot markers along the side of the barge. And the barges were floating very high on the water, so they were empty. They weren't full of grain. These are wheat barges for the most part. But you can see these horizontal scrape marks. There's about 3 or 4 along there. So those were the scrape marks that were made on the barge. There were no dents or anything that was significant to the barge. Next slide. And so after that, I did talk to John Helberg, who's the Shaver Vice President of Operations. And so he had been told by the captain that the winds were recorded at 35 to 40 miles per hour, that there were barge wires that keep the structure of the barges. There were 4 barges that were underway. And so the reason that they were anchored for 40 minutes was to re-secure those lines. After the lines were resecured, the empty barges continued upriver to Biggs, Kennewick, and the Snake River. Next slide. So as you can see, the impact that was caused was surface marring. We did contact quite a few folks after the event, including John Helberg with Shaver. We talked to Mike Mitchell, our structural engineer of record at HDR. I did have a conversation with the captain of the port in Sector Astoria. Ryan had email exchanges with the ODOT bridge team as well. And there were a number of media requests as well. So really just kind of wanted to summarize that. I believe that's the last slide, more maybe. So just that's an update on what happened yesterday. I don't know how much more questions we have, but certainly can try to answer any questions that you might have. Or Ryan.
Concern that I have is this was a near miss. Luck would have it, they were unloaded coming upriver against the current, and they still hit the bridge. That should have been the easiest thing for them to maneuver. Thank God they weren't coming downriver, and I understand the wind and the lightness of the load.
Yeah, I disagree, because when they're light and they're up out of the water that much, they're like big sails, and they're actually harder to control than when they're sitting deeper in the water.
I think it still comes back to the same critical issue. What caused it?
Yeah.
And what are they gonna do to make sure it doesn't happen again? And what were the qualifications of the captain that was running the tug? Is he or she relatively new? Or what's the lessons learned that we can gather from that? Something like this, I would expect a Coast Guard, some kind of a report that comes out. And this is a near miss. It could have been a whole lot worse.
I think that's a good idea in the effort of transparency to the public. Could we request for an incident report from them?
Yeah, in fact, when I talked to the captain of the fort, they've concluded the investigation. And then I also did, Deputy Cremati did file a report as well. So I did put a request in for that.
And then maybe we can just post that on our website,
Sure.
so people are interested in see.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think would be helpful, so we can learn something off of it. Hopefully they learn something off of it. And then we can educate the public that, hey, this was a scrape, but
Well, yeah, absolutely. But it also goes to show why the new bridge is needed
Oh, yeah.
to increase more than
because the
double
span
that.
over that channel will be almost double the length.
So anyway, I thought you might be interested in some of those images. So
Good
yeah,
job.
yeah, thanks to Ryan for
Yeah.
getting us out there. Thanks,
Yeah.
Ryan.
Kevin, no repair work is needed?
No, there's nothing of, short of going out there and scrubbing the little bit of, full paint off there.
Well, the one thing that he did mention is that Ryan and his guys got up on the piers or looked at the lift span to make sure nothing got out of alignment. And you satisfied yourself that it didn't move,
Right.
or if it did move, it moved back.
Yes. All gaps look the same.